Hi, I'm here to tell you about a week commencing the 1st of April. So Monday was April Fool's Day. Not that we actually did anything for April Fool's Day, not on social or anything like that. So 1st of April I went to a local college, and there was a pitch that we were doing for them to tell them about some video work that they were interested in doing. So I took Kat and Jake with me to that one. It was an interesting picture. I really, if I'd have had more time, I think I probably would have done more in the way of preparation possibly for myself. But in some ways, if you think about the amount of time that I've been studying all to do with things along the lines of content and why video is important, then if you look at it that way, you could say I've probably been studying for it for 4 months, which is probably more the case than the specifics. It's the first time that I've actually been to a presentation with Kat, funnily enough, and there are some definite similarities between Kat and Wend in terms of they are just really naturally good in front of clients. Especially, I think Kat's probably even better when she's going off script rather than trying to read something that's on a PowerPoint document or something along those lines. So I thought the presentation went pretty well. The great thing is now we've got so many videos that we've done before which illustrate the different kinds of videos that are possible. So we've got some great drone footage with the tracker text on it, which that's the text that moves in line with things. We've got quite a lot of pieces to cameras where people are talking about I don't know, there's maybe like an interview where I think it's in the Great British High Street video, where there's a lady and she's talking about, it's a special police person, and she's talking about the things that she's done around town to make a difference. And I think the main thing that I was trying to help the client understand is that there'll be a lot of people who they see who might be a specialist video maker like Jake is for us, for example. But just because you're a specialist video maker doesn't mean to say that you'll be taking the footage with the concept of using the footage to break it down into small pieces that can be put over social to meet your actual needs of the college. And the bottom line for this particular college is to get people to enrol. So we were supposed to be having finding out imminently whether they're deciding to give that work to us or not. I think there was probably three or four companies that are maybe pitching for the work. So I'm really hopeful for that, but equally on the same basis, I never get to the point where I think there's any kind of entitlement for us to get the work, although I firmly believe that we are really the only sane choice. I genuinely believe that. That doesn't mean to say that that's the way that the client sees it. So we'll just have to see if that's the way that it pans out. Monday was another day that kind of highlights the diverse role that I do for the company. So Ella was off at college on that particular day, and for some reason or other I went on her machine and I just wanted to try and get the thing to just to turn on, but literally the emails just wouldn't start up. Basically we have an email where we have one inbox that has pretty much all the data in, and it had just frozen completely and I couldn't get it to come on. So I must have spent, I would say, somewhere in the region of about an hour and a half trying to get the computer to work. and I think it came about originally because it was something to do with like the files that are on the 2016 version of Outlook, the folders. Some of them are some of them on some of the machines they're not sorted in A to Z, and I'd managed to convince myself that it was something to do with the fact that the Get Stuff Done email was like literally at the top end of its limits, and therefore it managed to get the folders out of sync. I think it puts them in via date order or something along those lines. Subsequently, it proved that it wasn't the case, and a bit of Googling turned out that there is actually, on 2016, within the home ribbon, there's just an A to Z where you can force the folders to go A to Z or Z to A, or in whatever order you can just cycle through them. So it turned out that wasn't the case. But in any case, what I have done is I've moved more folders. I tend to do it every year, and I've moved more folders into another separate email, exchange email that's called Archive, something along those lines, because you can have as many, you're limited to a 50 meg or 50 gig inbox on one. So by having another dedicated archive email and then letting people have access to it, then you're doubling your storage from 50 to 100 meg, 100 gig. So started transferring over the files over that. Having some kind of problems with it at the moment, where the files that I'm moving at, what I do is I remote my work PC, and then I move them across a little bit at a time, but for some reason or other it doesn't seem to be syncing across all the servers. Now I'm not sure whether that's just a time thing or whether I'm going to actually then have to somehow or other move the files back or move them slowly a few at a time, but they just don't seem to be transferring across at the moment. Anyway, such are the joys of being the interim, well, not really interim, but permanent kind of IT specialist. Obviously we have ad hoc support from externals on this, which is really mega useful for me, but for the day-to-day stuff, that's part of my remit to keep the company running smooth. Most of the time that's just a question of just buying machines and turning machines on and off just to make sure that that they work. It's really just as simple as that. So it's nothing that, it's usually not too much of an arduous task, but that's an example of a 1.5 or 2 hour slot that just goes like that with nothing really to show for it, other than just being able to have them, the PCs just running smoothly. So Tuesday was a day of one-to-ones. So a long time ago, I'm trying to think how many years ago now, but I don't know, I would say probably about 4 years ago, something along those lines, I started doing one-to-one. So every 3 months, something along those lines, I would aim to see every single body within the company and just have a chat with them, catch up, see how they are, see what's on their mind, see if they're happy at work, see if there are things that are happening that I need to know about, and then I can, let's say if somebody has a moan about somebody in particular, then that gives me an opportunity to talk to that person in a setting that's more informal and more relaxed, and it means that maybe I can help to just really put them back in the right direction, or tell them if there's things that they need to work on, without it being more of a formal review that we do every year with, although I should say that Wend and Bev do the formal reviews. The other thing is that if you get into a company where, at a point in the company where the people who come in obviously don't know me as well as the people who were there originally, and obviously I don't know them as well. So I think it helps. It's part of the process of just being closer to the people I work with. One of the reasons I go around and say hello to everybody every day, although that's not really as relevant in this day and age because I'm back really in the main office for the time being, just to give Dan a little bit more support until the desks are moved around. But it also gave me to having the one-to-ones. There was a period of time where Wend and Bev had pretty much said that, what's the point, this is taking up so much of your time, and the more people that you have in the company, what your time's better spent doing other things, is what they would say, or is what they believed. And I think on the last one, they would really come to the conclusion that people, the one-to-ones with everybody were optional, and then you actually almost like had to opt in to have a one-to-one. Now, since this point there, I was going to say, and I have to say that was something that I wasn't particularly, that I didn't agree with at the time, but I just have to kind of like not so much pick my battles, but just to decide what things were the most important. So I just rolled with it. But since that point, there's been a number of, obviously I listened to, you probably heard me talking about Gary Vee quite a lot, and there's some of the podcasts where he does mention by name, and he talks about the most important thing within company culture, and that's to have a meeting or meeting with your staff every 100 days with them individually, whether that's that you take them out for lunch or dinner, or you just sit down and talk to them and just find out exactly the kind of things I was talking about, funny enough, like one-to-ones, what's on their mind, is there anything that's affecting, are there any changes that are going on in the home life, because in a period of 3 months people's lives can change quite dramatically. Maybe they're in a house, maybe they've split up with a girlfriend, for example, and then all their budgets were set off two, and now there's just the one of them there. Some people might have kids and are able to put in the kind of hours that we were doing before. There's all kinds of things, so it's just, apparently it's supposed to be really important, and fortunately I think that's being able to share that with Bev and Wend, then I think they know, they can see justification from somebody who's completely external to the company about what the benefits of it are, and also they can understand why it's so important for me to continue to do it. Fortunately, on that particular Tuesday, there wasn't, I wouldn't say there was any massive problems that I would say that are lurking within the company, or certainly none that people have told me about. I think there was a couple of maybe gripes or concerns with the way that pay reviews have been done this year, or not so much done, but communicated to staff, and maybe the tone of voice of the email, that kind of thing. So I was able probably to feed that back, and all the things that were discussed in the meeting, although I've never been a kind of person who can remember every single word that people say. I literally scribble down little notes on a piece of A4 paper, and just things that I need to use as little individual words that I can use as memory jogs, so that when I come back and I sit down with maybe Bev and Wend, and then that means that I can remember some of the things that I might need to talk to them about. So that was all done. Interestingly for me, on the Monday night before, I'd sent an email to Tim, the guy who was the previous CEO of Moto, just for a catch-up, asking him how he was getting on and with his life post leaving Moto, and he seems really quite happy. I think he's getting, it's not like he's not busy. I think he's going to do a little bit of consultancy and that kind of thing, and I think he's working on his golf swing, and it's just nice to see these people who are moving on from Moto, and he'd been there for 22, 23 years, but then he's adjusting to life afterwards, and he's giving himself a break quite conceivably could have gone on. I don't know. I would imagine from what I understand, he was being paid obviously a pretty big sum of money, but I think a lot of the times for everybody, whether you're a multimillionaire or whether you're a shelf, I don't know, whether you were like me and used to pick onions and worked in a field, you'll cut your budgets and you'll cut your budgets and cut your lifestyle to the amount of money that you're earning at the time. So it's good that Tim will have had the time to be able to take some time off and not have to jump directly back into taking another job similar to the one he was doing, which I can imagine is probably mega stressful. But anyway, it was just really nice that I sent him an email on the Monday and he replied to me on the Tuesday. I'd also sent a couple of other emails sent one to Benny, who still kind of works for us on a freelance basis on the studio side of things, just really seeing how he's getting on. He has a very interesting life where he's moved down to Bristol and he's trying to crack and get into the wildlife filming I don't know, career, if you want to call it that. It definitely reminds me very similar of what I would have seen if our son Mac had decided to pursue his career in acting and what have you. That I would say it's kind of feast or famine. So all the time you seem to have all these opportunities. So for example, Mac went for castings for like Holby City and I don't know, maybe like get a part in Game of Thrones and The Crown, which is another mega Netflix type types program. So you have all these like massive opportunities that come across your door. So likewise, I think Ben at the moment's looking. He had an opportunity maybe for a runner in one series, and then he's because of his networking, he's getting introduced to other people. So there's all these different opportunities that seem to be going around with him. So I'm really pleased for him that he's working out, that he's working out. He's definitely got a strategy, and the main thing is just basically getting in front of people and then recommending him to other people. So I've got no doubt whatsoever that he's going to achieve the dream or the goals that he set out for himself. I just think his life is always going to have all these periods where he may, for example, go away filming for somewhere for a year, and then he might end up then having to pick up bit part jobs, or or more filler jobs, because I think he was even looking at maybe working at a pizzeria as part of just to make sure that that he's all right from a financial standpoint, which is good that he has the humility to be able to do that. One of the things that's interesting within the email comms that Ben and I had, it was maybe putting up that he had always wondered why that we were investing in things like the web and things like video obviously because he was working on the video side of things, when in principle we were making more revenue in other streams and other parts of the business that seemed just to be much easier money to be made than potentially in these other channels, and which is a really good question. I think we both come to the same conclusion, is that we do it because mainly we enjoy doing it, and that I have this ethos that I like the idea of people who overlap with skills and just working together really as a team. It's just great to have a big team of people who I can call on to do lots of different overlapping things. And now I think it's come to the time where certainly the video side of things is really coming to the fore for creating content. We have Danny does a lot in the terms of animations, or these little like cartoon explainer videos, And you know, these are good, these are the things that we're doing at the moment, which I firmly believe are going to drive the business forward. We've rebranded a company or a facet or skills of the company that will now push us forward as being a bespoke signage company, and hopefully get us closer to the end customer, in that they'll see as a signage company and that's what they want to deal with rather than an agency. So we're fulfilling that need for them to deal with the end consumer. So I've been spending an awful lot of time on that, pulling that together and redoing these animations and redoing videos. So at the moment we've done one explainer animation that does talks about the process in terms of getting the quotes done, and then we do a design pack, and then we come along and install it. It just looks, it's an amazing little video, something that only lasts a minute long. It's designed to be run on Facebook and also to sit on our website. But then we've also done on the about. We've swapped one of the sections from being about meet the team, which was just a load of headshots with information about us, to being more about the company itself and like the three core things. So you've got like a design. I'm trying to think what they are now. Design, certainly installation. And I have to think what the other one is, because basically we've shot, production, so like print. So for the design, Jake's created a short video, maybe 15 or 20 seconds long, and with the help of Elliot, we did a job for Upper Crust, an Upper Crust kiosk, where we rebranded it down at Temple Mead Station. So on that particular one on file, we had flat plans of it that Elliot done, and he'd also actually done a 3D render of the 3D moving render of the kiosk for client to sign off. So we've recut those in along with some pictures of the finished article, and that looks really good. For production, we shot some close-up films that we had done from the printer. So it's printing out something for Costa, and then it shows the very, very close up, but it shows the Costa logo, shows the poster being cut, that kind of thing. And then on the installation, I'd found that ages ago we'd done, or Elliot had created, a time-lapse video. So that's where like a speeded up video that shows signs being fitted and shows the pictures of them being done at the end. So instead of just some static pictures on the website, we've got now 3 little movie clips that go along with the text. And then I'm also going to use those same pieces of text to then run them as brand. First I'm going to put them organically, and then I'm going to use them to build brand recognition by putting them through Facebook and LinkedIn. So they're all, they're all good. And then we've also got a fourth. So that's 4. Then we've also got a 5th one, which is an animation that Dan's been working on, that's going to be pushing wall graphics, or us fitting wall graphics, particularly in schools. So I think even just skipping forward on the Saturday, I'll brief that into the guys to be able to push those out this week, or hopefully this week. By the end of this week, those will be out and being circulated around. Possibly I'm thinking doing like one a week, I think was my final decision on it. So that's going to be interesting to see how many leads are generated from that, and how much work or how many new clients come our way off the back of all these campaigns that we're going to be running. Wednesday saw the return of Mac, our son from Berlin. So he'd spent maybe 4 days over there, as part of the history course that he's doing. So he'd seen the Berlin Wall. In fact, he's actually come back with a small piece of Berlin Wall in a little glass. It's probably about that, one of those little round cloche, little mini cloche things. And he's got like a laser engraved, 3D laser engraved one of the buildings, one of the famous buildings in Berlin, I can't think what it's called. I mean, I'd love to, I think, well, in fact, no, when that'll definitely be a city that Wend and I go to at some point. He'd also been to see a concentration camp as well. I mean, I'm quite into World War II type history, something that's always fascinated me. I think maybe because I maybe watched what was it called? World at War, I think was on when I was very, very young, probably about like 9 or 10. That was a series that used to be on maybe a Sunday night, and it was a docu-series that went on for a very, very long time, and talked about the war across all the fronts and showed all the footage. I think if I had unlimited free time, I'd probably watch them all again. So maybe something I can do in the future. But so he came back from there. I think they're really good, these school trips. Obviously they're a lot more expensive than if you're going across to Berlin. Obviously it's not the cheapest, and we're lucky where we're able to send Mac to do that. I know some of his other mates didn't go for one reason or other, but I would suspect it's just that it's difficult to find hundreds of pounds for some people when it's outside of their normal budget. But good stuff for him. I know he's had some how can I describe it, some little incidents that happened. So for some I don't know why, but it was on the train, and then he'd managed to crush his ticket up to a degree where when the tickets inspector came along, pulled him at random, and he actually got chucked off the train, and the teacher had to go off with him while he got another ticket or something like that. He got thrown off the train, and then I don't know, I think he might have got busted for wandering around late at night or something like that. But those are the kind of things that are really good, because they give you memories that you won't be able to remember the whole trip, but you'll definitely be able to remember individual incidents that will stick in your mind for years to come. I can remember school trips, even the first school trip that I went on to Chester Zoo, where somehow or other I managed to get myself, and I think it was David Singleton was the guy's name, and we managed to get separated. I think we were at like the penguin enclosure or something along those lines, and everybody else had moved on to the next thing to see at Chester Zoo, and it just left the two of us. And then I managed to get myself and David back to the original coach that we'd come off, which I think I probably would have been about 5 or something along those lines. And I think I remember at the time on those trips, whenever we went on the school trip, obviously we don't do this for Mac or anything like that anymore, but my mum had I think my key on the house key on it, potentially, maybe, but definitely my name and my address details, like a piece of lost property or something along those lines. If I did get lost, and at least I'd be able to say, like, it wasn't even contact details, we don't even think we had. We certainly didn't have a home phone back when I went there. Point is that these trips, I think they are important. If you can find a way of sending your kids on school trips, then you should do, because if for nothing else other than the education, then the memories will last them a lifetime. I think that's pretty much the takeaway on that. I'm just looking what I had. Oh God, yeah, Wednesday. Yeah, I'd forgotten about this. So Wednesday, we're doing a fit at the moment for Edinburgh Airport, one of the M&S schemes. And it's really, although the fits go on during, the fits are done during the night, they maybe start work at 11 and they finish at 4 o'clock in the morning. For some reason or that, I just had this bad feeling. The night before we'd tried to get on site, and they wouldn't let them on to do any work, so I just had this feeling that something was going to go wrong. And I actually took the phone with me to bed, and I put it on vibrate, and sure enough, I actually struggled getting to sleep that night. Normally it's a lot easier for me, but I think I felt uneasy with the phone being there, and the phone, sure enough, the phone goes off, and it's the installer going, oh, they're not going to let me on because I haven't got this piece of paperwork with me. And look, so I had to hop out of bed, get the computer back up and running, find a piece of paperwork, and luckily, because we work in this way, and this kind of ties back nicely why we file all the emails in a central file that we can get hold of. I was able to, thanks to the good subject naming by Dan, who's been working on the project mainly, I was able to find the piece of paper that I was looking at whilst I was on the phone to the shop fitters and the installers, and I was able to get the piece of paperwork that I needed, which had already been sent to the shop fitters, but for some reason or other they wanted it resending it again. And he managed to get on, and he managed to do the work. Yeah, and he had the usual problems and whatever. When I spoke to him at 6 o'clock in the morning on the Wednesday, he'd had a couple of challenges with fit of the signs, but he'd managed to sort it out, which was good. So everything's gone along relatively according to plan, although the vinyl's on the outside of the station, because it's winter over here, it's like -1, and when you're putting vinyl graphics on externally, it has to be that the temperature's got to be over 8 degrees really for the vinyls to stick, and we're just nowhere near the temperature. And also, as you're peeling off the vinyls that are already on there, the vinyls are breaking off in really small pieces. And then when you've got a vinyl that's maybe overall it's probably 3 meters high and probably 4 meters wide, and if it's coming off in 2 centimeter pieces, then it's going to take some time. So that means that there's a revisit on that particular one. Thursday was an unusual day for me, where for one reason or another I'd started to we'd come across and re-looked at some parts of the financing with the Wits End move, and I felt a bit more positive about that, and I think finally come to the I don't know, I think the whole thing about Wits End, sometimes I'll see something and I'll instantly be passionate about something. Other ideas take a lot longer for me to get used to them, and for me to come round to the idea of it. And I'm certainly coming round to the idea of Wits End now. The compromises, which I think were things where I was focusing on the negatives, I've kind of accepted them now, and now I'm trying to think about, well, how could we go about, how would we go about life in there? And I'm kind of, I think I'd even, talked about even the layouts of the couches and ridiculous things like that. So I've got to the point now where I'm kind of accepting the inevitable of the move, and it is feeling more realistic. It is a different kind of a move to ones that we've done before. When we bought Ashgrove House, within the mortgage, within the borrowing, we'd allowed a contingency, or allowed an amount of money that would enable us to get things that we wanted within the house, whether it be couches or decorations or new curtains or that kind of thing. And it's not really going to be the same at Wits End, where the money and finances are going to be an awful lot more stretched. And that was something that I'd brought up, funny enough, in the one-to-ones with everyone, just explaining to them that how much Wits End, to make it work, which is almost like Wits End is going to feel, even to them, is going to feel like a step backwards, to enable us a path forward, really. And just trying to explain to them just how we're having to take funds, what I would say security, out of the business and equity out of the business to make the deal happen, and just helping them really to understand that, and to just trying to encourage them to, when we're at wit's end, to try and focus on the positives of wit's end rather than looking at the negatives. So I think something I'd done, it has at the moment, initially it's got just 2 toilets, a male and a female, so if you go in the toilet and obviously somebody's left it farmyard fresh, shall we say, that's obviously going to be probably pretty annoying, but there's not really an awful lot we can do about that, certainly not initially, although I do have plans to build to redevelop that area of Wits End. That's not something we're going to be able to do when we first move in, so there's going to be a whole host of compromises, I think, and things are going to be very tight until we can develop spaces where say for example the print can move out of the office into more of a purpose-built building. So we've got all that we need to do. Thursday was also an interesting day where finally was able to do managed to convince a client of ours who runs franchise M&S stores in railway stations to try Facebook marketing at one of the stores. So that was very interesting for us to look at like the demographics and look at the creative that we did for that. Friday was a lot of the time towards the end. I didn't get away till late. In the afternoon we were working on this Facebook advertising campaign, which is proven to be more difficult because we'd originally assumed that there would already be Facebook pages set up for each and every individual station, or there'd at least be a head office page for M&S, but there isn't, so that's something that we're going to have to get over. And then Planable, which is kind of like a portal which allows you to set up the ad and then share it with your clients, won't let you show a carousel ad. So that's where a carousel ad has got a number of pictures that run on the same on the same advert. So it's not, so for example we have an advert on one of the pages which is pushing the actual deal, and even getting the imagery for that was really difficult. Elliot had to help pull around the actual advert by literally getting images off the website and then repurposing them and just fitting them within the deals, and they look really good. Dan had been working on a 3-dimensional location. It basically shows, took Google Maps, and then he's able to redraw more of a simplified line version of it. So that took him, I don't know, maybe 3-4 hours to do that, but yeah, it looks really, really nice. And that shows the location of the store, which is possibly one of the main problems. But then we realised within these carousel ads, when you can do them, that on one part of the carousel you can actually have a directional thing where it pulls up a live map, almost like a Google map or Apple's own map, and then shows the location of the store, and it'll take you to it. So it kind of made the map potentially maybe a little bit redundant. I don't really know how accurate some of the times these location maps are, because it's only going off on a postcode and a train station. I think that's part of the problem at the moment. The train station is pretty much invisible on its branding. It's certainly not promoted from inside the platforms. We've presented with them budgets, and then hopefully to the point where this week coming up that we can run the ads for them and just see whether that gives them the uplift on sales that they're hoping for. Because at the moment, if they don't, I think they're probably seriously thinking whether they either need help from the landlord in terms of the rent that they pay, or whether to even keep the shop open just because of the finances of it, because they have such high rents to pay, and if they're not able by the council. They're not able to make the shop stand out and put some decent branding on it, because at the moment all it has is some extra vinyls in the window that say M&S. It's, you know, they really are fighting a completely losing battle, and they need all the help they can get. And I'm truly convinced that, you know, if we can find a way to run some Facebook ads for them, which literally target the people in the local area, I actually do think that that it will make all the difference for them in terms of brand awareness and sales. Well, ultimately sales, I should say. So I didn't get away. Maybe I didn't get away till, I think it was about, Kat was putting the ad and the document together, but she was meeting her dad, I think, for tea or something like 5:15, and she did stay over. I just said, look, it just looked like it was going to end up being rushed, so I said, look, I'll just do that, and I didn't finish maybe until 20 past 6. It took me about another hour, something like that. So I sent it off to the client. Saturday, I woke up on the Friday night. I decided that I was going to, let's say, take it easy, because I'd already decided that if the dogs did wake me up, and they do an amazing job. I mean, they're fast asleep now, but for some reason or other, at 6:30, they'll decide to, well, it's Harley actually who barks. She will start barking at 6:30 in the morning, there or thereabouts. On a weekday, she will bark at 5:45. Now, 5:45, how she knows the difference between a weekday and a weekend, I've literally got no idea how a dog can actually have that built in. And I can understand about them waking at times, but how she knows on a weekend to wake me up later, I don't know. I can only assume that's maybe if they go out for a last week later. That's the only thing I can say. But anyway, on 6:30 I got up, and I'd really decided that I wanted to get stuck in. I had quite a few jobs that were hanging over that needed to be worked on, some invoicing stuff that needed doing, so that was good. I was able to crack on. I was able to do the final amends that I was talking about earlier on. The print site, it took a long while. I'd been adding up. Need to go back through every single rebrand job that I'd done, that we'd done for M&S, and it worked out that, and I need to split this out actually later on today, but we've actually done over 130 schemes since 2013 for M&S, either rebrands or new stores. And God, you can't, well, I don't know, it's a staggering figure to me, if I'm being honest. Thinking the amount that we've done, and obviously that's a key stat. I think on the signage website before, in the case studies, it had just gone that we'd rebranded, or the way it was worded, it was said that we had rebranded M&S Stafford, and there was a picture of the brand walls that are at Stafford, and brand wall is just some till graphics. So I've rewritten it, and that really tells more of the story that we've done, that we've been working on them since 2013, and we've done over 130. We've done everything from the graphics, illuminated signs, graphics, tension fabric graphics, painting, decorating, tiling. So, you know, there's a big delta between what was on there before and what's going to be on there as of today, and that's kind of like, for me, the pretty much that and the videos going on, the final pieces of the jigsaw puzzle for for that. I've also changing as well, getting more used to being native on going on these social platforms, in terms of when you're scrolling through your feed. I'm going to change the transitions at the moment. When we go on to one of the signage ones, it starts off with an animated signage logo, and just the animation, although it looks cool, I think a lot of people will have scrolled off before they even see that. So I'm pretty much going to change that to get Dan to change that to statics all the way through, and then have the wording, the key wording. So if we take the school on, for example, the wording that will come in, and it will say something like, do your school walls look dull and boring? And the thesis on this is that we're going to run it against schools, and if we can run against universities, we'll change the text to say universities and do some tweaks within the animation that's in it. So yeah, I spent quite a bit of time briefing that in, catching up on some of the jobs. I didn't even take the dogs out for a walk, which I would normally do every day of a weekend. Saturday night, we went out to the Trafford Centre. Had a meal there. That we went to Pizza Hut. We sat down, and it was funny because Mac, who's with us, I do feel sorry for him at the moment. In fact, I feel sorry for Wenda and Mac. Both of them are going through changes in their physiology, if that's the right word. So Mac's a teenager, and Wen's getting to that point where she's coming to the change in life, and through no fault of her own, the body chemistry is changing. So for example, that makes Mac more irrationally moody, should we say. So I don't know, he's just finding the whole thing more frustrating, and I do sympathise with him. It's not his usual self, it's not the way that it would normally be, but he's definitely getting more irritated. So it comes to a strange period of time where I feel like I'm maybe like the peacemaker and just trying to keep everybody calm, because I'm not on the family front. I'm certainly not necessarily known for my calm and rational behaviour myself, but it's something that I'm having to do these days. Shopping as well, when I go into somewhere like the Trafford Centre, it's interesting for me because get to see a bit of, often take pictures of signage. So while everybody else is looking at clothes, I'm looking at pictures of signage and taking pictures of that. Whilst all the time I'll be, even on the journey up there, I have one earpiece in and I'll be listening to podcasts on the way through. I listened to a really interesting podcast on a guy who'd made a lot of money in affiliate marketing, which is a term I hadn't really heard of, and he'd made hundreds of thousands of dollars through affiliate marketing in a real niche as he would call it, market in gold and financing and stuff. So that was really interesting, seeing how some of these people have these businesses that they're all one of the guys who the podcast I listened to, he does digital courses, and they were talking about the physical scalability of courses, that when you're marketing out there, there's no limit to the amount of people across the worldwide who can download this course that you might be promoting. And they're saying, okay, that's a better business model to have than a business like ours, which is obviously people and buildings and renting things and what have you. And whilst in some ways I can totally see the point, the business model that they have is definitely an easier model, but ultimately it's what you enjoy doing. But I think what they're saying is they can get on and drive around in Ferraris and Lamborghinis and all the rest of it. Whereas I think that's my point, is when I got up at 6:30, I was pleased to be working really and just getting stuff done. That's what I enjoy doing. So if I enjoy my job, then that's good for me. If it involves having other people, and I like working in a team of people and we all work together, when things go wrong, we all feel sad together. When things go right, we all feel happy together. So, I like that kind of, I really do like that kind of thing. So, yeah, and that's what works for me. Sunday, went out for a walk with the dogs. Oh yeah, Saturday as well. Yeah, Sherry and Mick came round for a bit of a. That's who went for a walk with the dogs, and Sherry bought us another lucky elephant. I don't know if you remember a few weeks ago I was telling you about the lucky elephant that's supposed to bring you money, and whilst on one hand I wouldn't say we've had any amazing strokes of luck, we have actually sold a house, which in theory I suppose is a big financial bonus when there are houses. I think the house there's a big house that's maybe directly opposite us that I think's been on for maybe about £700,000. It's a much older traditional house, but they've not sold it, it's still for sale, and it's got plenty of potential in this particular house to do things. So I suppose maybe, is it down to the lucky elephant? I don't know, but anyway, we've ended up with a second lucky elephant, which is identical to the first lucky elephant. It's just bigger. But anyway, why puzzling why I would end up with a second elephant, but we've got one. So I would say it's double luck, but apparently it doesn't make. You have to have, according to that woman, you have to have them at the entrance to your home. That's where they have to be. So not on a windowsill or not on a fireplace or something along those lines, which I think was a fact that maybe escaped Sherry. Friday as well, I forgot to mention, Wendid sent round emails to everybody's personal emails confirming what the new salary figures were, and I think maybe she was probably disappointed or confused that some people hadn't even acknowledged the email. Some people hadn't, obviously it said thank you and all the rest of it, and there are some people, or the majority of people, hadn't even gone, oh okay, thank you, or just made some kind of acknowledgement one, which is something that we think is really important as a business, is just acknowledging the email so that people actually know that you've had it. So yeah, it's a bit of a puzzling one. Sunday was also marked a great day for me, because went through a period where we ended up with all these different server cabinets, and we've got one that's it's definitely over 2 meters tall, and it weighs an absolute ton. It looks like a telephone box, really, really mega heavy, and I've had that on eBay now for probably a week and a half, probably a couple of weeks. Finally managed to, somebody made an offer on the bid, so I think it had dropped from 150 to 140 pound. They offered me 120, and I went, because I'm thinking, well, if they're offering 120, they definitely are going to be able to, they just want a deal. So I split the difference, said 130, and sure enough they agreed to do it and agreed to come and collect it, which is great because the thing weighs an absolute ton. So I went in on Sunday, opened up the office, and they came along, and unfortunately they had 2 guys on them. Unfortunately I also had one of those hand truck things that has 2 wheels, you can tip the thing back, and we managed to get rid of that server, and obviously had a few quid in my pocket, which I've handed over to Wend to use and spend money. So that's easy come, easy go, but it's mainly just getting rid of that thing, because it's just been an eyesore in there. So I'm so glad to get rid of it. So much more things to get rid of, running out of time. Sunday spent on the walk, funny enough, discussing that with Brody and Wens. He was moaning that he didn't have a job to do, and I was saying to him, well look, you could always buy things and sell them on eBay. But at the moment Brody's saying, bearing in mind that Brody's 11, he's going, I'm too young and it's not going to look good if I'm selling that. So at the moment he's just seems to me to be finding reasons why he can't do it, rather than actually doing it for himself. And that's fine if if his heart's truly not in it, then I'm not going to force him to do. But equally, he can't come moaning going he can't do this, or Mac makes money and he doesn't make money. Well, he has the opportunity to do it, he's just not doing it. So we spent most of the walk, not so much bickering, but discussing things like selling the Lego and selling the toys, and even I was saying, look, we need to sell Nana's wheelchair, collapsible wheelchair, and Brody's no, we need to keep that as a souvenir. It's like, I'm all for keeping souvenirs of people, but is it really going to help having a souvenir that's Nana's wheelchair? And no, it's not. It just needs to somebody to literally take some pictures and put the thing on eBay. If I can sell a set of tyres, I can certainly sell certainly sell certainly sell a wheelchair. So anyway, that's something I just need to do. Just need to sell more of it. Finished off a few more jobs for work. I did feel when was working as well, actually, on a presentation, if you want to call it, a document for work on for I don't know, almost like you could say a sales promotion or something along those lines that one of our clients wants to run in the summer. So Wen's helped me with that. I'd also had something that I'd had a brief on a job for Burger King where we needed to make some recognition cards, almost like thank you cards to say why people have done a good job in Burger King. And Burger King has an asset library online that you can get on, but it's such a big thing and it's not very good being able to navigate. So they had this thing called, they've got like a new strategy for April which says like go on, say it, Whopper kind of thing. I think it is to promote the Whopper, but there's no assets on there whatsoever that I could find, although there was the actual physical Whopper image. So to try and, although I couldn't do all the artwork myself, what I have tried to do is set the file up the right size, link up the assets to it, so it just means that when Elliot comes in today, then at least all the copies on there, roughly at the right size, roughly the right paces, and it should give him a head start on being able to do it. I mean, it's just technically it's out of my scope. I haven't been on InDesign for probably about 12 months or something like that, and I don't think I was ever that particularly good on it anyway, because if you don't use it, you're never actually going to get any better on it. So I'm going to sit down with Elliot hopefully today and watch how he tidies up the sloppy, shall we say, the sloppy workmanship that I've done. But it'll give me some chance to answer some of the questions on the things that I was struggling with. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to see him do that. And then as regards to this week going forward, the people who own Wits End are back from holiday, or the lady who's back is back on holiday, and we've got the structural survey this week, and goodness knows what that's going to turn up. Literally haven't got a clue, because that's the next thing, so hopefully that will be done. I think it's Tuesday or Wednesday this week, so maybe by the end of this week maybe we'll have heard or know a little bit more about any potential problems that are with the purchase of it. And that's one of the things why I can't even guarantee whether the purchase is going to go ahead, because if we find out that if the stable block, for example, is full of asbestos or something along those lines, then obviously we're going to have to walk away from it. So even at this late stage in the game, where it looks like it's all going to go ahead, there just aren't any guarantees. Hopefully as well, we'll find out about the college video. Hopefully that will come through, and just need to just keep cracking on. Finishing off, we should have finished off Edinburgh Airport, the M&S rebrand on it. So yeah, just busy. And long may that continue. So till next week, see you again soon.